One of my favorite quotes from Dr. Seuss is, "Sometimes the questions are complicated and the answers are simple." And I love that quote because I work in philanthropy, so I spend a lot of time thinking about complicated, disruptive questions. And philanthropy exists in this kind of weird space where you get to hang out with really creative people from business and government and nonprofits. People who really challenge all of your assumptions about how the world works and then get you to imagine really creative, kind of bold, scary ways of changing it. Now, I should preface, I work for a community foundation, so instead of just helping one family, I actually get to work with hundreds. And I was meeting with a client recently to help with his philanthropic priorities, and I was surprised when he suddenly went, "Ooh, philanthropy. I'm not a philanthropist. That's what old dead guys are. That's not me." And if you look at the history of philanthropy, he's right. They were essentially the super wealthy, the 1% of the 1%. And they were the ones with the time and the resources to really think about things and explore. But now, thanks to technology, we all can join in and make gifts, small gifts, that end up having a really big impact. So the challenge that comes from that, though, is thinking about what really happens next. What happens after the novelty of the marketing gimmick wears off and people have moved on to the next cool, sexy, hot issue. Because if we really want to tackle the most entrenched challenges that we have, we need people to invest time and talent as well as money. So I kept thinking about that conversation with my client, and it got me thinking about my earliest influencers, my parents. Now, my mom and my aunt were raised by a single mother, and back then in rural Ohio, that really branded them as different. Now, rather than being bitter about it, Grandma taught them how to create welcoming spaces, especially for other people who felt like outcasts or misfits. My mother incorporated those lessons into every aspect of her professional and volunteer career, always finding ways to facilitate deeper dialogues, to create more inclusion. To this day, if you met her, she has this uncanny ability to just see people for who they are and affirm them, and then find ways to help them use their own unique talents. And my dad grew up in the segregated South, and facing injustice daily really inspired him to get involved in the civil rights movement, to go to college and pursue his lifelong career with the YMCA, where he eventually became the president and CEO for our entire metropolitan area. So that job basically involves raising a lot of money. I think what kept him motivated over all of those years was the knowledge that he was literally building safe spaces for people of all ages to come together, spaces he never had as a child. So when they had to decide where to raise their daughter, they had lots of options, and they chose Silver Spring, Maryland. But they understood it's not as simple as picking the right zip code. They showed me that you have to get up every morning and make the community that you want. Now, I've been thinking about this a lot recently because this little person, my daughter, and I want her to grow up in a place that nurtures the gifts that we all bring, rather than simply labeling and grouping us by whatever challenges we happen to face at the moment. When you're pregnant, people say, everything is going to change, which is incredibly vague and unhelpful. But if I could go back in time, I would tell myself, it means you no longer have the luxury of thinking of community as a noun. It needs to be an active verb. I need to be an active co-creator of the community that I want for my daughter. We all need to be co-creators of the place we want to live. You make it by the way you interact with strangers as well as friends, the places where you decide to spend your money, and how you vote. And that is what I think is the simple answer of what real philanthropy is. And I suspect it's a simple answer to a lot of other complicated questions as well. I can't help myself. I have to give a few shout outs to some of the amazing nonprofits that I met through my work. So I just want to close with the words of the poet Marge Piercy. I want to be with people who submerge in the task, who go into the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along, who are not parlor generals and field deserters, but move in a common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire be put out. The work of the world is common as mud. Botched, it smears the hands, crumbles to dust. But the thing worth doing well done has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident. Greek amphoras for wine or oil, Hopi vases that held corn are put in museums, but you know they were meant to be used. The pitcher cries for water to carry, and a person for work that is real. Thank you.